This is Texans TV. Texans Extra Points is sponsored by BHP and by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by your Houston area Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
We are ready to rock in Houston. Touchdown, Houston! Are you kidding? What a catch! Oh, baby!
Happy Halloween, and the Texans are back home against the Los Angeles Rams. This is Texans Extra Points. My name's Drew Dougherty. I'm your host, and at 1-6, got to get things right. So to help us get things right, we got Sean Pendergast from Sports Radio 610.
It's a lot of pressure.
And post-game host. Yeah, you're going to fix it all, man. That's why we brought you in. You cool
Let's
with
do
that?
it. I'm ready to go, man.
All right, we'll get into that in just a moment. We've got a lot to discuss, but we start things off with some news of the week in Texans land, and we start with a quick hit in a quick exit. Mark Ingram was here in the offseason and here for the first half or so of the season, and then he gets dealt to the New Orleans Saints for a draft pick. A big move and a surprising one, to say the least.
I know that Mark's a really good teammate, a really good leader, good person overall, and any organization be lucky to have him, and he'll definitely be missed here. But as far as that goes, we just got to prepare for the Rams and focus on going 1-0.
Tyrod Taylor practiced this week. He was brought off the injured reserve, but he's not quite ready enough to start against the Rams. So instead, it's Davis Mills, and the Texans continue to see progress from the rookie.
To know that when you go out there, that particular guy is going to do his job and give you a chance to win. I feel like in Davis, we have a guy like that in the future could be that kind of guy. Obviously, we got Tyrod here for a reason, and he's been there and done that also. Unfortunately, the injury kept him from being able to do what we feel like we were going to do and take us to where we need to be going right now. But it's very, very important to have that.
Regardless of who plays quarterback, though, there are some things that must change, and that needs to happen for the Texans to have some success.
The first one is the penalties. It's been a deal with us from the start, and we're working on that every day. That we're on the field to concentrate and get that taken care of. And we haven't done a good job of getting that done yet.
The Rams come to town and they bring with them two of the best in the game in defensive lineman Aaron Donald as well as cornerback Jalen Ramsey, plus a new quarterback in Matthew Stafford who's lighting things up.
Great athlete, great quarterback, and I feel like what we try to focus on as a defense is not individual players, just more of us being able to do our job, us being able to hold together as a defense, and if we keep that focus, we'll be able to do good.
So Davis Mills is going to start at quarterback, and based on what we've seen from him, there have been good Davis Mills moments, there have been struggling Davis Mills moments. He's back at home, and the last time you saw him here, good effort. Different team, though, in the Patriots and Rams. What's he need to keep on doing that he's done well, and what's he got to fix up?
Well, I think some of it's things Davis Mills needs to clean up, but I think they also need to maybe just take some of the training wheels off of him too. At some point, I know that David Culley's mantra is to protect the football and not turn the football over. But I think the Texans, especially against a team like the Rams, where, look, you're going to have to do some really high variance things to win this football game. You're going to have to take some chances and live with the downside of that. And I don't think Davis Mills is somebody that if you put him in a position where he's more prone to turnovers and he actually turns the ball over, that it's going to be something that messes with him mentally. He does seem to be a pretty strong kid physically and mentally. So I think some of it's on Davis, but I think some of it's on Tim Kelly and the play calling too, to start to do some things to attack a little bit more down the field and not play so much in a box. Obviously there's things he needs to clean up. He's a rookie in his 6th or 7th game. But I think to me the biggest thing is just change up some of what you're doing. Just don't be as conservative, especially against a good team like the Rams.
Yeah, and how much of that is dependent upon what's around him up front on the offensive line and then weapons-wise out on the edges?
Well, he's got Nico Collins back now. They seem to have a little bit of a connection going, and Brandon Cooks has slowed down since his fast start at the beginning of the year, but we know what Brandon Cooks is capable of doing. I think getting the tight ends involved would be a big deal for him as well. That's something that's kind of been dialed back from the beginning of the year. I think Farrell Brown and Jordan Akins giving him some sort of outlet would be really, really helpful. And it'll be obviously very interesting to see how they choose to deploy the backfield in all this and who's going to be the guy that's going to start to take over some of those carries that Mark Ingram leaves behind.
All right, so with all that in mind, running game gets shaken up this week. You're not going to see Mark Ingram anymore, so he moves on to the Saints. Scotty Phillips conceivably moves up, and I don't know about you, but I'm sure on your text line at Sports Radio 610 you get a lot of, where is Scotty Phillips? Why isn't he even active? We've gotten those questions quite a bit. I don't know that he gets a whole lot of touches necessarily, but what do you make of what the run game might be now?
Well, there's nothing that really separated, nothing that greatly separated Mark Ingram, Phillip Lindsay, and David Johnson just in terms of the sheer numbers, productivity. They'd all struggled to really get something going in the run game. I think what you lose with Mark Ingram probably is more the leadership, and he was getting more tough yards than probably those other guys did. Yeah. So, I would like to see Scotty Phillips. Yeah, we got a candle lit in studio, figuratively, for Scotty Phillips every week, especially after what we saw in the preseason. So I'd like to see some of that. You know, if there's more David Johnson now, do they use him more in the passing game? Do they get the running backs more involved that way in the screen game? Phillip Lindsay's had a little bit of success in the screen game this year. But we know they're going to want to run the football. Yeah. That's a stated goal every week. I think Scotty Phillips has to be a part of it almost.
Yeah, does the offensive line and the shuffling, does that kind of concern you? Because it's weird. In pass protection, it seems like it's been good enough, but they just can't seem to get it going in the run. They only did it in week 1, and that was against the Jaguars.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is. Like every offensive lineman you've talked to dozens of offensive linemen just like I have. The running game is the thing they really look forward to because you're just lining up and you're just pushing guys around, you're bullying guys, and for whatever reason, this offensive line looks a lot like the offensive line did last year. They look confused at times. They don't look as physical sometimes as the teams they're going against. I mean, I'll say this, they've been going against a bunch of really good defenses in this last stretch of football, but it's the NFL. Like, eventually you're going to have to beat good teams if you want to get to where you want to go. So, I think I'd just like to see more of that fire in the run game as anything else. It's just everything's so muddled and cluttered, and it seems like defenses have their way with this offensive line.
And then out on the edge, Nico Collins continues to do at least one nice thing per game. You want to see more, but how much of that is Davis Mills and being inexperienced, and how much of that is Nico Collins just being a rookie too?
Yeah, well, and he's been out also. Look, he's played very little football over the last 2 years, not just this season, missing the time with the shoulder injury that he had. Look, Nico Collins, there are not many young guys on this roster that you feel like are foundational guys moving forward, and it's not, that's no disrespect to the young players, it's just quantity. Right. They haven't had a lot of draft picks the last few years. Nico Collins is a guy that this team is heavily invested in when you think about it. For a third-round pick, they're as heavily invested in him as any young player on the roster.
You kind of see why, based on what he's done.
What he's done and the draft picks they gave to move up and get him as well. And I like what I've seen in the brief spurts out of Nico Collins. So, that's really, Drew, like these last 10 games, that's got to be a huge goal for this team is find out what you got in these young guys.
Yeah, I think you're going to start to see more of that as the weeks progress. Okay, we're going to get into the defense in just a minute, but before we go to break, John Harris, our team analyst and radio sideline reporter, he breaks down a Jacob Martin sack for a safety in this week's version of the Telestrator.
Welcome to Texas Illustrated, presented by BMW. I'm your host, John Harris, football analyst and sideline reporter. And I want to take a look back at a group that did a really fine job against the Arizona Cardinals. That's the defensive front. These four guys right here did a whale of a job against the Cardinals on a number of different fronts. But I want to go to our surface presented by our friends at Microsoft to show you exactly how to play the zone read. Now, it wasn't a sack. Texans had 4 of them. Jay Grenard had 2. Malik Collins had 1. That was a good start. But this is a TFL worth 2 points. And I'll show you how it comes to be right here. Because the Texans play this about as well as you can. The Cardinals, what they want to do is they want to bring Zach Ertz across and make Jacob Martin think it's split zone, where Ertz is going to kick out Jacob Martin. And so that's his block. But Ertz is going to slide past. Some people call it slice. Some people call it other things. Some people call it slide. They're going to go right past Martin, get him to close, and then Murray goes out around him, and then Ertz blocks Reed, and it's a house call. Or at least it gets to Lonnie, and then it's one-on-one in this wide open field. That's trouble. However, Jacob Martin plays this brilliantly. So let's keep an eye on Jacob right here, okay? He's going to close down when he sees the run fake. All right, close down. Nice job. Now, he's in here, and Murray's thinking, I got him. But Jacob Martin is in great athletic position, flattens out, and has the speed to track down Kyler Murray. Does a great, great job. Now, let's take a look at the other things that were taken away and why. Watch these two big hosses in the middle here, Malik and Roy. Roy is going to stand up to double team and then hold up the guard, Pugh. Malik Collins is just going to rip through Josh Jones, and those two guys really help this play because there's no run at all. Malik, in fact, tackles Edmonds right there. Roy's holding up here, so there's been no gap to run anyways, and now you're running the ball. The one other thing here is this is man coverage, or at least it looks like. Maybe cover 3. Either way, saw Justin Reed moving over here. I gave it the thought it might be cover 1. That said, Javier Thomas gets off this block and helps out Jacob Martin. Look how violently he gets off this block. Yank him and go. And now he keeps him from getting out of the end zone. That play right there by the Texans defense, that's how it's done. All levels coming together to make a big-time play and put points up on the board to help out your offense. That, my friends, is how you play the zone read. That is what we're getting from this defensive line, and that's got to continue.
First down at the Houston 11. Murray out of the gun, gets the snap, scrambling to his right. He's tripped up. It's going to be a sack by Grenard. Here's the snap. Murray with pressure arriving. Murray in trouble. He's going to be sacked back at the 10-yard line as John Grenard gets it.
Bring him up. 2 more sacks for Jonathan Grenard. That's now 6, which is best on the team through 5 games played. He missed the first 2 of the season. This is Texans Extra Points. Drew, Sean here in the Ford Studios. And Sean, I think Jonathan Grenard is the bright spot of this team so far. He's young and he's producing at a pretty high level. He's doing a really good job. What have you liked out of what you've seen from him? And I don't think we've scratched the surface of what he can do just yet.
Yeah, I think. Obviously the numbers he's putting up in pressuring the passer, that's the thing that jumps out at you. But I think the fact that he's just been a really good all-around, defensive end. I was going to say outside linebacker. Yeah. I'm still stuck in the 3-4 from time to time. But the fact, I know that he doesn't play 90% of the snaps, but the fact that he's out there early in series and then on third down, that's a real luxury that you have, that Jonathan Grenard is a guy that you feel pretty confident he can set the edge in the run game, and that, obviously he's getting after the passer too. And again, kind of like Nico Collins that we talked about, he's another young guy, 3rd-round pick that you feel like, man, if we get greater than 3rd-round pick productivity out of him, and he's a guy we feel like we can make him part of this core moving forward, then that's one piece you don't have to go find in the next year or 2.
Yeah, in big picture, it's kind of part of the exit of Whitney Merciless, which came last week.
Yeah.
You shed another veteran, and now some of these younger guys are getting more time, like Jacob Martin, for instance.
Yep.
That could be another piece opposite Grenard on the other side of that line.
Yeah, no doubt. When he's in a contract year too, so you're going to have to make some decisions with Jacob Martin. I feel better about Grenard than I do Jacob Martin, but Jacob Martin does do some things where he flashes from time to time. He's a little more. He's more of a one-trick pony than I think Grenard is, but yeah, like that is of the last 10 games of the season, like those two starting at defensive end in this defense is something that I think is definitely something to watch.
Big plays have absolutely wrecked this team, as we heard earlier in the show.
Yeah.
We've heard earlier in the week from David Culley, Lovie Smith, and so on and so forth. You can't keep giving those up if you want to win a ball game.
No, well, and I think the frustrating thing is you've got guys with physical talent back there. These aren't. I mean, there's some guys that are more lunch pail guys back there. But Lonnie Johnson's a former 2nd-round pick. Justin Reed is a guy who's played a lot of good football for you. Yeah. I think he's viewed as like a 1st-round talent over the course of his time in the NFL, and others too. Desmond King has played at a very high level in this league. You got a lot of guys that have the physical talent. I think if you go look at the big plays they've given up, it's been mental issues back there. Right. It's been mistakes, mental mistakes, as opposed to the physical mistakes back there. And that's got to be the most frustrating thing for a head coach. You can hear it in David Culley's voice after all these games and on Mondays.
Yeah, for sure. And we saw in the preseason, we saw in the first week, and we saw in the first half against Cleveland, the takeaways, and they came in big numbers.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty clear. If you look at the numbers now, game per game, this team almost can't win unless it gets multiple takeaways and doesn't turn the ball over. It's got to be +2 in turnover differential almost every time, because when they're even, or when they're negative,
Yeah.
they have not won a ball game.
Yeah, and even then, if you're +2, it's no guarantee. But you're right. That's the cover charge to get into the bar, And then if you do some other things, you get into the VIP level or whatever. But you got to be. You get this team absolutely right. Can't be even or negative on turnovers, or else the afternoon is toast.
Indeed. All right, we got to get into who the Rams are. So stick with us. But before we do, we got some Texans trivia, and check this out. Ooh. So Jonathan Grenard has 6 sacks. That's more than anyone had on the Texans last year in 2020, but it's also more than anyone had in 2003, 2004, and 2006. Can you name 2 of those sack leaders from any of those 4 seasons? We'll have that answer later on the show.
First and goal at the 3. Andre Johnson, short side left. Schaub bootlegs out to the right side. Wants Walter. Has him. Right side of the end zone. Touchdown, Texans. Houston takes the lead.
Ah, yes. The last time the Texans beat the Rams, they were in St. Louis, and it was the start of a 4-game win streak in 2009 for the Texans. Kevin Walter with a touchdown right there.
I remember that.
Yeah, I do too. You're Sean Pendergast. I'm Drew Dougherty. I also remember Danny Amendola, current Texan, taking a kickoff back for 55 yards and a few plays later catching his first NFL touchdown. That was a fun little memory too.
Wow.
Yeah.
2009.
2009er. That's right. Aaron Donald was not there then.
No.
But Aaron Donald did play in St. Louis. He's playing in Los Angeles, and he's going to be in the Hall of Fame someday, and he's playing like it right now too.
Yeah, well, he's J.J. Watt 2.0, right?
Yeah.
3-time Defensive Player of the Year. And he came into the league, in 2014, Aaron
Yes.
Donald did. So now he's into year number 8. This was the point where, JJ, and I feel horrible, JJ suffered that shoulder injury last weekend, but this is the part where we're comparing those two where JJ's body started to stop cooperating with him. Aaron Donald looks like there's no signs of him stopping. He is something else, man. And David Culley made it clear this week he will not deal with just one Houston Texan every play.
Right, yeah, there's no single block.
Right, right.
It's wild. And then they've got a rejuvenated quarterback.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford. We've all known he's good, but he's just been, he was up in Detroit all those years. Is it a perfect pairing in this, McVay system and everything?
100%. With all the weapons they've got out there with Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp's having an unbelievable year. They find ways to run the football as well. He is rejuvenated, and Matthew Stafford was always a guy who put up numbers. He's going to be playing in a lot of important games over the next 4 or 5 years. Matthew Stafford may actually cobble together a Hall of Fame case after all this. After looking like in Detroit, he was just going to be one of these guys that piled up a lot of numbers on a bad football team. Now he's got a chance to do some big things.
That's an excellent point you make, and it's time now for players to watch. And for that, we turn to you, and we're going to have your answer in a second, but who's your Texan to watch against the Rams?
Brandon Cooks. He's been the best player on this football team. He's going against his old team. I would imagine there's a little bit of juice for Brandon Cooks when a team trades you and takes on $20 million in cap money to trade you away. I would imagine that there's a little bit of juice for him, and he's going to be the one, in all likelihood, going against Jalen Ramsey in this game. Yeah. And we know from years and years of watching DeAndre Hopkins go against Jalen Ramsey, it's always fun to watch those high-level receivers going up against the elite-level corners. So that's and if they're going to win this game, Brandon Cooks is going to have to put up big numbers.
For sure. I'm going to go with Justin Reed because, like we talked about just a moment ago with Matthew Stafford, he's going to test the Texans. He's got a lot of receivers that will really stretch the defense, will put stress on your corners. Yeah. So Justin Reed's going to need to come up big. And as for you, you went with the chalk, baby. Instead of going quarterback, you go with the chalk on defense in Jonathan Grenard. Can he keep the multi-sacks per game streak going? Perhaps. It's going to be a tough one. Matthew Stafford's not been sacked much this season, so Jonathan Grenard is the fans' player to watch. And when we return, we're going to have your answer to Texans Trivia, plus some keys to a victory. Don't go anywhere.
Texans Extra Points has been sponsored by BHP, by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by Cigna, together all the way.
Earlier in the show, we asked you, hey, Jonathan Grenard, he's already got 6 sacks this year. That's more than anybody on the Texans had last year, which was 2020. But it's also more than anybody had in 2006, 2004, 2003, franchise-wise, just for the Texans. So Sean Pendergast, can you give me 2 of those guys from those 4 years, 26, 4, and 3?
I would say 2006. Was it Mario Williams in 2006?
It was not.
Okay, wow, that was. I don't co-host a radio show with the answer to any of these questions.
You do not?
I?
It's not Seth Payne?
Yeah, it wasn't Seth Payne. Is Gary Walker one of them?
No, good guess, but we'll end the guesses now.
Okay.
You left out 2020. That was J.J. Watt last year. So that was,
Oh, okay, yeah.
But in 06, it was Jason Babin. 03, it was Jamie Sharper. 04 is somebody you've done this show with many, many times, Kylie Wong.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love Kylie Wong.
We love Texans Trivia, so
Yeah.
we went kind of obscure on that one. That was hard. If you got it, pat yourself on the back. All right. And Tyler, the producer, just said that was a good one, so thanks, Tyler.
I didn't hear you say 2020. Otherwise, I would have said J.J. Watt.
It's all good.
All right.
I trust you know stuff. I know
some
and that's
things.
why you're here.
Yeah, one or two things.
You're also here to give us Ticketmaster keys to a victory. What do the Texans have to do to come out victorious?
I would say that I would follow David Culley's lead on having to stay ahead of the chains. He has harped on that and harped on that. And he cites penalties a lot of the time. I'll cite penalties, but I'll also cite an inability to just run the football. You've got to, when this team has had success offensively, it's because they've been in 2nd and 6 and 2nd and 4 instead of 2nd and 12 for whatever reason. So I think, especially with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey on that defense, being obvious on 2nd and 3rd down is a bad recipe. So I think staying ahead of the chains. And I think we saw a little bit of this last week against the Cardinals. Desmond King did some nice things in the return game. We saw him do some nice things in the return game in the preseason. I'm thrilled that he's getting an opportunity now to return punts. I think getting a big play from him, not necessarily a touchdown, but swinging field position at some point. If you're going to hang with the Rams, you're probably going to need a short field and some of those invisible return type yards here and there. That's another one.
Yeah, he returned 4 punts last week. His first 3 were each of the 3 longest of the season for the Texans. So he came out, guns blazing.
Absolutely.
He did a great job. I like those. I'm going to go with this. Big plays, both sides of the ball. You need to get them on offense. You need to stop them on defense. Keep them to as much of a minimum as you can and make them happen offensively because you haven't done that consistently since the first week or 2 of the season. All right. Hey, great work as always. Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course.
Hope you come back again real soon.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate you watching us as well. For Tyler Marcotte, who put this whole thing together, I'm Drew Dougherty. We'll see you next time. And go Texans. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.